It is starting to feel like Kraken season. This is our first snowfall, and I think it's going to be the one that sticks, depending how much snow we get. They're talking up to 30 centimeters, and then cold afterwards, extended cold, and we're late enough into November now. This might just be the one that sticks, the first one. I think we have enough moisture now locked into the ground that we are good for spring. Get a good frost, firm things up, and we should be able to get back to business right smartly after the snowfall. I am happy to have my bees inside. Moved them in good time, and I was able to do that with the comfort of using that refrigeration unit. And I'm going to run it through today and through tomorrow until the nice cold weather comes on Thursday. That's what I bought it for, so I might as well use it. One thing I was noticing in my shed, there was variability within the shed by the way it's cooling the room. I would have some days cooling very easy, and other days it just seemed to be the temperature creeping up just a little bit. I was wondering, why would there be variability? There's 105 BTU cooling here. It should cool this shed down, and I figured out what the issue was. So this shed is situated with the air intakes on one side and the air outtakes on the fan on the other side. And you can see my prevailing wind presses onto this wall, and it naturally provides like an airflow through my building on a windy day, or that prevailing wind will push against the shed and provide me a draft through that building. I've never really thought about it other than being an advantage, but now that I'm trying to conserve energy, trying to cool the building, restricting my airflow so that I'm not unnecessarily cooling an oversupply of ventilated air, this now becomes an issue. So what I did was I blocked off, this is very farmer-like, I blocked off with a cushion one of the air vents, and I restricted the flow on the other so that the air being pulled through the building now is basically strictly only that vent fan. The CO2 monitor here. Just turn it on, get it calibrated. 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 5 degrees. We are looking at 5,000 parts per million. So that's a little bit high. Let me increase my idle fan speed and see if I can bring that down maybe 1,000 parts per million. And I'll check back in a couple hours. See if that does it. So that has been an hour since I stepped up the low idle ventilation. What airflow that is, I actually have no idea. That has brought the level down to 4,400 parts per million. So, I just got off the phone with a beekeeper friend of mine down in California. And I was talking to him about this, the CO2 level in his shed, because I know he has a big ass shed down there, and he puts 5,000 to 7,000 hives away from time to time. He puts them on ice. And I was asking him, what are you running your CO2 levels at? I know, like in California, they're a little bit warmer than it is over here in Miami. And he'll be running his cooler quite often. It's just, how do you manage the temperature? How do you manage airflows? How do you manage humidity, all those basic questions I get asked all the time. So he's telling me that when his bees are stocked away, he shuts his ventilation fans right off through the day. And through the day, these colonies will accumulate, 5, 10, up to 20,000 parts per million. And then at night, in the evening or early in the morning, and the better part of the day to exchange the air because he's looking for cool air, he then dumps the shed to purge out, all that stale air, lower that carbon dioxide level down to 2 to 3,000 parts per million. Every day, dumping 20,000 parts per million in his shed. We want to be a little bit careful and not let people into the building at that, because it's not healthy. But his bees seem, indifferent. Now, isn't that just the most interesting conversation? There's a few hours behind my desk. What a thrilling day. Keep procrastinating though. Gotta just keep at the business and stop bullshitting around. So I turned the vent fan right off. So there's no air exchange in this building. And I want to see what my CO2 level is. That is over 10,000. This thing only reads to 10,000 parts per million. So in how many hours now? 2.5 or 3 hours, the relative humidity increased to 60%. The CO2 level is over 10,000. That's a lot. My goodness. So what I'm going to do is put my air exchange back on and think about this for a little bit. 10,000 parts per million. Now we're getting into that higher level of, of where we might hurt our own health by being in an environment with high CO2 levels. So I'm not sure how high that is. It's just over 10,000 parts per million. Isn't that interesting? That is 10 minutes of the vent fan running on low. We're down to 8,100 parts per million. It doesn't take much air to bring the CO2 levels down. This will be the last night. I might run the cooler tomorrow. I don't know. Probably not. I think cold weather's starting to follow through, as it looks like we're heading into winter now. And I'll be using that free stuff from outside. So I'll turn these off. But at least now I've been able to play around with these cooler units just to get a feel for them and just a feel for what they can do. Just to make sure they were, adequate to handle the capacity I have in this shed. Nearly 1,800 colonies. 1,800 colonies full of bees. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Figured out the defrost cycle on them. Figured out airflow, my basic shed configuration, air circulation within the shed, and toying around with restricting the airflow to conserve energy. So that's the next thing I'll be investigating into with a few more other guys, just to see how I can tweak that to save the cooler from having to run so often due to my airflow. So if I can restrict that, purge this air, or maybe maintain a lower airflow to save energy, send these bees into a trance, all the same. Boy, oh boy. Just managing all these variables, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, no, you didn't clear me the